Hi and welcome to our first Raft video, with many more to come. In this starter guide, we take you through what to expect in the first hour or so of the game, and we'll also share multiple tips. We have created this video for those curious about the game, as well as anyone who's just about to get started. Hopefully, it will help to confirm if you're on a good path and also teach you a few new things that will improve your experience. If you are just getting started with the game, follow our channel for a lot more Raft videos in the months ahead. And of course, we'd appreciate a thumbs up or a comment if you found our video helpful. So let's begin. First, let's quickly touch base on game modes, even if you have already just started a game. The normal mode is not hard, but certain elements make it far from relaxing. In hindsight, doing our first playthrough in easy mode would probably have allowed us to enjoy the game a lot more early on. We're sure for many, easy mode would be preferred as the default mode. It's slightly less stressful when it comes to hunger, thirst and shark attacks. Beyond that, it's pretty much the same experience. So if you have not yet settled in, consider restarting in easy mode. We think that mode offers the overall best experience for the average player. And if you play alone or happen to die, you also won't lose your inventory when you respawn. And to have covered all modes, the hard mode is very unforgiving and in our eyes more for anyone who wants to punish themselves. You need non-stop water and food, you will take a lot more damage and there can be multiple sharks and so on. And finally, there is the peaceful mode. It's similar to easy mode, except that as good as all threats are removed. The shark is a pacifist and most other animals won't attack you at all. If that's your thing, go for it, but we feel this would be too far in the easy direction, or borderline boring for most players. All the mentioned modes allow you to unlock Steam achievements, if that's important to you. On that topic, there's also a creative mode, where achievements won't work. This mode is more about having fun building a raft without grinding for resources. There is no thirst or hunger, no shark attacks and no islands, just you, your raft and the open ocean. If you're playing alone, there's a very important trick you need to know about. When you start a new world or load an existing one, the default setting is that friends can join. Selecting that means that the game cannot be paused, no matter if anyone is playing with you or not. However, if set to nobody can join, you will be able to pause the game anytime, which can be a great convenience. With that covered, let's move on to some tips regarding controls. Most of the basic controls should be intuitive, so we won't go into those in detail. Though we feel it's worth mentioning that beyond using 1 to 0 to select the items on your shortcut bar, you can also cycle through the bar using your mouse wheel. Yes, unfortunately, there is no way to turn on helpful numbers on that bar. It's also possible to hide the UI with full stop, great for screenshots, and toggle between third person and first person mode with comma. While cool, it does feel like the game is best played in first person mode. Once you start the game, you will find yourself on a tiny raft with only a hook as a tool. You'll have to get going by collecting what floats by resource-wise, which will allow you to craft new items and tools, key to your survival. Keep in mind that all tools have durability, so expect them to break frequently. Getting used to the hook is important and you'll quickly become a pro. Aim fairly high up and a bit ahead of what you aim to catch generally. It's easy to think that you should be filling the bar fully, which will give you a long throw, but a shorter throw might sometimes be more efficient. Keep in mind you can catch multiple items while you reel the hook in. And you can also quickly cancel a throw with the right mouse button. Plus, anything that gets close to the raft can be looted manually, even while you have your hook out in the water, if you enjoy multitasking. Generally, if you can catch it with your hands, don't waste your hook. While most of what floats around are individual resources, you will also see crates and barrels. Try to keep an eye out for those as they will offer more resources and some other important items early on. There will as well be various islands appearing along your path, but we recommend ignoring the first few until you have an anchor, but more on all of that shortly. Finally, you will occasionally come across abandoned rafts. They often require a sail or a paddle to reach, if not directly in your path. Early on we see them as optional, but you'll want the loot boxes they offer soon enough, so keep it in mind. You will also have noticed Bruce the Shark. He's going to be attacking one of your raft's foundations approximately every 5 minutes if you are in normal mode and every 8 minutes in easy mode. On top of that, in normal mode, your thirst bar will be going from 100 to 0 in around 15 minutes and your hunger bar lasts 18 minutes. Easy mode, you get a bit more time, making the game a lot more fun. Around 25 minutes for thirst and 31 minutes for hunger. Keep in mind though that you want to avoid any bar going below the marked threshold. At that point your screen will start flashing, your character will start moving slow and you can't run anymore. Once you have collected some resources, your first goal will be to craft a few more tools and expand your raft with some key items for your survival. What you should focus on early on is quite straightforward. It's close to a natural order of things, though the exact order is not necessarily critical. Wooden spear. If you want to stop Bruce the Shark from destroying foundations, you might as well craft one early and move it to the second slot on your shortcut bar. We also recommend adding a few foundations to your raft for more space. This will require the building hammer. You can craft many types of building pieces with the building hammer. When equipped, simply hold your right mouse button to bring up the building menu. Foundations should be selected by default, and you won't really need anything else here right now. After that, the simple purifier should be next on your list, as you'll soon get thirsty. The purifier requires wood to work, and we are building it in the middle of the raft and away from the edges as to avoid the shark destroying stuff. You also need the empty cup to fill the purifier with salt water so that it can produce fresh water. Drinking salt water is not a good idea, as you can imagine. Stations standing on foundations being destroyed by Bruce will vanish. Make sure you prioritize keeping an eye out for crates and barrels while you craft tools and build. Some will give you scrap metal, which you need in a bit. And if the durability of your hook is low, it might be a good time to make a spare. While we recommend ignoring the first few islands until you have an anchor and a few more items crafted, should you happen to get stuck in one early on, build a paddle to get yourself back into the stream. With your thirst sorted, your next project should be a simple grill. This will also require constant wood to operate. And if you want to get the most out of it, you'll need a fishing rod. A quick crafting tip. The grill requires 3 ropes. You could craft those from the separate resource tab or the quick and easier option. If you have all the required materials, simply hover over the rope within the simple grill building interface and click the plus icon that pops up. Once crafted, you could start to grill any raw potatoes and beets you might have found already. Though if you only have a couple, keep them for now as you will need them shortly. Fishing is easy. Just cast your fishing rod any distance and wait for the fish to bite. Then click to catch. As you can see here, you can also collect resources floating close to the raft while you are fishing. At this point, Bruce the Shark might have paid you a visit. Using the shortcut for your spear or mouse wheel, equip your spear and hit him until he gives up. Equip your building hammer and repair with left clicks. If you were quick enough and you have the resources, you can now repair the partly broken foundation. If there is no repair option, hold the right button and release while over the repair option in the bottom of the build menu. If you were too slow, no worries, simply replace the foundation piece with a new one. With hunger sorted, you likely soon have a broken plastic hook. It's generally useful to craft another one before it breaks. That goes for most tools and weapons. There's no way to repair them, and when their durability hits 0, they're gone. You are doing great. Continue to reel in those crates and barrels whenever you see them float by. Now it's time to build a research table. It could be argued that a small crop plot should be next, but we'll need a table for our next little trick. The research table is very important as it will allow you to unlock new items and tools. You can see there's a list of items within its interface, and you can also see what each item requires to unlock on the right side. The way it works is that most resources in the game need to be placed in the assigned research slot on top. This will allow you to research the item. Do note that this also consumes the item and unlocks all relevant recipes. Once you have researched all required resources for any given item, the recipe will be possible to learn and subsequently available in your regular crafting menu. Back to the small crop plot. This is used to grow food that can be consumed raw or cooked. That said, food is always more nutritious when cooked. Let's build one and show you a little trick. Normally, when you place a crop plot on your raft, seagulls will regularly come to attack it and steal your harvest. However, if you place a small crop plot under your table like this, it seems to prevent this mechanic from working. This is probably not what the developers have intended, but hey, it works. In our eyes, this is mainly useful early on in the game, as later we'd want to place things properly. Plus, if you stop seagulls from being able to attack your plot, you also deny yourself an extra food resource. Nothing better than some wings on the Barbie. If you want a normal experience, ignore this, but it's an interesting tip in either case. Once placed, make sure to always have potatoes and raw beets at hand. You will get more by planting them, and all surpluses can be cooked on the grill. Also, don't forget to water your plot with fresh water when you plant something new. When placed normally, you will have to take care of seagulls, as mentioned. Later there will be other tools at hand, but initially you will have to use your spear. This will give you more food to cook as well as feathers. At this point, your inventory will be full of resources, so it's likely time to build your first storage box. Note that if you have a storage box open, all its resources will be available crafting wise. For instance, if you need rope and you have palm leaves in your box, simply open it up to craft. There is no need to move the palm leaves over to your own inventory first. The final steps before taking on your first island will be to craft a stone axe, a throwable anchor and a paddle if not already crafted. Or you can craft a sail if you like. On our first playthrough, we crafted the paddle very late because we went for the sail straight away. While not as reactive as a paddle, the good thing with a sail is that it lasts forever, while the paddle will break. By placing a sail and turning it around, you can influence the direction of your raft as to reach abandoned rafts and islands that are not in your direct path. The same goes for the paddle. Simply look in the direction you would like to go and start paddling. In either case, the stream will continue to push you forward. Once you have prepared these last items, you are also ready to begin the official raft story, but more on that in a minute. Let's first visit an island and talk a little bit more about Bruce the shark. When close to an island, you have two choices. You can anchor up next to it, as we always did in our first playthrough, or you can anchor a short swim away. The reason for anchoring up further away is the shark. Bruce is attracted to your raft and your character if in range. However, if you can make some distance between yourself and Bruce, he will return to circle the raft without attacking it. The shark will generally not attack your raft when you are far enough away from it. This will give you a more relaxed time while swimming below surface and exploring the island reefs for resources, as Bruce won't come for you. Similarly, when anchoring right next to an island, it's often possible to cross over to the other side of it, which means the reef is then most likely far enough away for collecting resources without Bruce being around. However, if the main reef is just below or around your raft, you will have to deal with the shark first. There are two ways to get a breeder from Bruce early on. For one, there's shark bait that you can craft using fish and rope. This is an item you can throw into the water to keep Bruce busy for just above 1 minute, while you loot underwater resources. Alternatively, you can throw the bait close to your raft's edge. This will make it easier to kill Bruce while he's feeding on it. You will only get in one hit before he needs to circle around and come back for the bait again. In our eyes, the more efficient approach is to simply deal with Bruce yourself. Equip your spear and make sure to bring a spare. A full kill will require 1.5 wooden spears. Jump into the water and orientate yourself while generally keeping close to the surface. Once the shark approaches, there's a trick that can help you avoid taking damage. In short, if you do an attack just as Bruce opens his jaws, you should hit him, but he will miss you. Some find it easier doing this while also swimming forwards or backwards at the same time, but neither is required. It might take some practice to get the timing right, but once you get the handle of it, dealing with Bruce is a lot easier. Once killed and looted, it only takes about 3 minutes for Bruce to respawn. One trick that can give you a good amount of extra time is to not fully loot the shark. Simply let the button go after you have collected the 4th shark meat. That will still give you all the great meat that you most certainly want, but not the shark head, which is the last item you get from any shark. This increases the respawn by roughly 5 minutes, as the shark will first have to despawn before the respawn timer will start. Let's talk about the islands. There are small islands, large islands and story islands in the game. The island we are on now and have seen so far have been of the small type. Once at an island, you can expect the following. Underwater, around the islands, you will find resources like scrap metal, stones and more. You can gather these with your hook. On the island itself, you can get wood by chopping down trees. Some trees will give you coconuts or mangoes, as well as seeds which can be useful later. There are flowers to pick up, though while we started to stack them up in boxes early on, they relate to creating paint color, which is not a required element of the game. Instead of wasting storage space, you might want to gather them later on. Flowers often also give seeds, which again you don't really need before much later in the game. You might also find other foods, such as watermelons or pineapples, which also drop seeds that will allow you to farm more of them on your raft, but a bigger crop plot will be required. All islands also have at least one chest with better resources, and there is sometimes also loot boxes hidden underwater. There are plenty of resources to find on all islands, the most important often being metal related, but at this point in the game you would want almost everything. As you move on from here, it's likely a good time to craft your first collection nets. In short, they allow you to passively gather resources while you are busy building and taking care of your thirst and hunger. It will make sense to build a broad row of them over time, but keep in mind the resource costs for the nets and that Bruce eats them for breakfast. There are ways to stop Bruce, but during the early game it's either best to build a further row of foundations outwards or to gamble that you'll be fast enough to stop the shark attack. A small trick we have learned? If just a little bit late to the party, you can remove the net. This will stop the attack and the net will be like new when placed again. Now that you are well on your journey, let's touch base on how to start the official Raft story and not spoil too much more. If you have looted all those crates and barrels, you will have received 2 blueprints by now. One for a receiver and one for an antenna. Note that you do not need to keep any of the blueprints in the game. Once found, they are automatically added to your research table and can be discarded. Take a look at both of these unlocked recipes in your research table and what they require to craft. You should make it your goal to unlock them. That said, there's quite a few steps to get there and many more items to research and unlock. We won't spoil all of those as you already got the skills you need to get there. Once finally researched, build the receiver, or radar as we like to call it, as well as 3 antennas to make it functional. This will allow you to see larger islands as green dots, and with the right code also story islands as blue dots. The code for the first story island is the default one and is already set when you create the receiver. You are now ready to continue exploring, unlocking and upgrading items, building your mega raft and enjoying the game experience. Before you start your adventure, here are some additional important notes for your journey. Keep in mind that your initial 4 foundations are the center of your world. The game revolves around your raft and not your character. If you let the shark destroy all of your foundations, or if you yourself destroy all of your foundations, your game will be over. Not doing an island early is mainly due to 2 things. One is not having the axe to get the wood you can collect there. The second is making sure you have thirst and hunger under control, as to give you time to deal with Bruce and explore in peace. There used to be a third reason as well. Many have found themselves stranded on an island because they didn't have an anchor yet, which normally meant your game would be over, seeing the game revolves around your raft and not your character. You can also only have 1 raft. Luckily, and pay attention, if you get left behind, swim a little bit out from the island and idle for a minute or 2. Then press escape for the option to use the unstuck feature. This should allow you to be teleported back to your raft. If you know you have a good save game, then that might also be a good option, of course. But if you are unsure, this is the way. Okay then, while there is a lot more to learn, we hope our guide was helpful. Make sure to check our channel, as we'll be posting showcases, tips and tricks, achievement guides and more in the time ahead. We do appreciate a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe and even hit that bell for future updates. Enjoy the high seas till next time.